Hello and welcome to the Collecting Heroes podcast. I'm your host, JD, the collector of collectors, and this is the place where I interview pop culture, I should say, collectors from around the world. My next guest today would never bring a sword to a gunfight, but he might bring a whip. His name is Martino. He's from Chicago, and he's an Indiana Jones collector. Mark, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
As I said, a big Indiana Jones fan you are. Sounded like Yoda trying to say that then. Different franchise. But yeah, you are a big Indiana Jones fan. And I'm really excited to talk to you today because, you know, this is also a movie that is part of my childhood. I know there's probably many listeners that listen to the show who this forms part of their childhood. But as with all my guests, I always sort of want to find out a little bit about maybe your childhood and what was it that drove you to be a super fan, if you want, of Indiana Jones. Where did the story for you begin?
Well, it was, let's see, had just moved from Texas and came back to Chicago, and we were staying with my aunt for the summer. I wanted to get out of the house, basically. And I said, Mom, take me to the theater. I don't care what it is. I'm going to go see something. Well, then Raiders of the Lost Ark was playing. So I'm like, you know what? And I didn't connect it, Han Solo, Indiana Jones at all. I just said, okay, this is going to be, you know, an adventure film. I'm just going to sit back, relax, watch it. And that first 10 minutes, you know, you got the whip cracking and the guy sitting there, you know, running off into the thing, and they find the idol.
Yep.
And then, you know, jumps over that cavern chasm, and he's hanging on, trying to get out of there. Then he gets chased by the boulder, and I was like, this is going to be one hell of a film. I had just turned 15, and so I was just like, this is going to be good. And after that, I was like, you know, the mall, after we got out of the theater, I ran down to the bookstore. I picked up the paperback book, and then I ran over to the store across the way, which was the record store, and they had the soundtrack for Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I picked that up. So those were my first two collectibles that I ever got, was the paperback book and the soundtrack. And that soundtrack I still have. It's a little worn, but it's still, you can still hear everything on it. It's just, since then, it was just, okay, every time I found something of Indiana Jones, I had to go and get it. Later on down the line, it was, I think, September, they released the illustrated screenplay of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I picked that up. You know, I'm an artist, so I started like sketching the items inside there. I started sketching the pictures, and then it was just like, okay, what's the next? What's next? And then, okay, Topps cards. They got trading cards. I got to go and get them all. So it was just like starting. Oh, got to get this. And eventually, you know, you had the trading cards. You had T-shirt vendors. You know, they had their Raiders of the Lost Ark T-shirt. Okay, got to get that. You know. And for me, it was just like, this is going to be something that's going to be like kind of like Jaws and Star Wars was. It's going to be out for a long time. It's going to be in the theaters for a long time.
Yeah.
And so once school started for me, I had, you know, I'm sitting there going to school, and I'm sitting there, you know, drawing my trading cards on paper, taking the scenes and stuff, and you know, I got a lot of trouble from the teachers. So, you know, you're not supposed to be drawing in class. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care though. I'm just it was something just, you know, to keep me busy. But then they started coming out with more stuff. They had the record. And if most Indiana Jones fans, hopefully they, you know, my age, I'm going to be 57. They probably know about the record, the movie on film, on record. It was the story of Raiders of the Lost Ark, no narration, just like a radio play, and that's all it was on record.
Wow, that's cool. So just to go back and set a bit of a timeline for people, you just mentioned your age, but we're talking 1981 was when it came out in the cinemas, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first indie film. And also showing our age, because I also have my passion for Batman. A lot of that stems from 1989, other side of that decade, but the same sort of thing where I went out and bought whatever I could, and including Topps trading cards, which they actually
Right.
had for the Batman movies as well, and they had them for that and for the Batman Returns as well in '92. But the when you say you got the soundtrack, are you talking about on cassette or on vinyl?
Vinyl. I
Okay.
did pick up the cassette later that year because I had this old record player, and it was like one of those ones that you flip down, and you had the two speakers attached to the side,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and you could take it anywhere you wanted to. And I'm like, I'm not lugging this thing around, So, so I ended up getting a Walkman and getting the cassette player, and cassette, and basically, I mean, my friends would like kid around and all the time. Oh, why are you listening to that? I'm like, you know what? It's the music is great. I
Mm-hmm.
go, it's by John Williams. He
Yes.
did Jaws. He did Star Wars.
Yes.
This is his next, opus that he's doing. And to me, my friends, they were like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy." I wanted to look for a hat. I couldn't find them. I had to wait till Temple of Doom came out before they finally came out with the Stetson hat, and that was the first hat I bought. And but
Do you still have that?
I do. It's sitting with my other hats over there. I do have it still. It has the label inside, so it hasn't worn out and fallen out like most of the hats
Cool.
nowadays do.
So yeah, so we're talking 1981. So the first items you have, you don't have the book though. The novelization is what you meant when you said the book, right?
Well,
Novelization.
the paperback is the novelization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you still
So
you don't that. So that's one thing that you've lost from the collection, or maybe it was read so many times it fell apart. Am I thinking? Yeah.
um, I have it. I have it. It's with the one with Marion and Indy on the cover.
Oh, okay. You still got it. Cool.
And then they came out with the next one, which was I believe it was a gold cover. I mean, they had them in gold, blue, red. So it's like each additional printing had a different color. But I do have all of them now
Mm.
after collecting, and I have two copies of the Marion and Indy covers. I have the first one that I had when I bought. That one is a little frayed and a little bit, looked at, and the
Yeah.
other one is almost perfect.
Wow. Do they come out with a lot of different books for all the movies? I know even the Batman movies, they and some of the more modern movies, they've come out with art books. That's like
Yes,
the art of the film. Are there the same sort of things for the indie films as well?
the illustrated screenplay basically was like a screenplay with the book, and then it had all the artwork that they did the
Concepts and things.
the the sketch, the storyboards.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what they were.
yeah.
And so they had all the pictures of those, and I mean, it was awesome because I mean, now I saw what the artist was thinking about and how close they came to it with the movie, and it was just, I mean, it was just like, wow, this is like a comic book.
Uh-huh.
That's what it looked like, a comic book artwork. And then Marvel came out with the comic book. I think it was September also, the comic book, and I bought the comic books on that, and it was a little let down with the artwork. I mean, it was drawn by Sal Buscema. He famous for Marvel comics, Spider-Man and Conan and stuff like that.
Cool.
And Klaus Janson inked it. Klaus Janson also inked a lot of the stuff for I can't think of the name now. It's skipping me. But he was the writer for Daredevil.
Oh, okay. Nice.
He also did the Sin City books.
Oh, with Frank Miller. Yeah.
That's it. Frank Miller. I don't know why that just.
Oh, so there's so much pop culture to remember, right?
Yes.
All these things. And you mentioned, because I mean, here you are talking about comic books. You actually mentioned before we started recording that you liked comic books as a child as well before the movie came out. So you collected a lot of comic books. Do you still have a lot of those in your collection as well?
My comics, the only ones I've really kept are the original Star Wars from Marvel, the Dark Horse comics, the Star Wars. I had Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man series. I had number 15 all the way to 400.
Ooh.
Then I bought a
house
CD-ROM.
with those after selling them, or maybe you sold them a bit early.
I sold them earlier, like maybe I think 15 years ago. I sold them to this one guy just so I could get rid of them because I had too much,
Okay.
room and I wanted to expand my collection of Indiana Jones, and I was also had a collection of Star Wars,
Hmm.
and so I really downgraded my Star Wars. I mean, I had in my room, I had just enough room to squeeze through the aisles. I mean, with the Star Wars stuff, and the last 6 years, I've sold it all off. All I've got left are magazines and a couple of action figures. So,
Wow. Well, to let people know who are listening, Mark is wearing the hat, the Stenson hat, right?
well, this one is a hat made by Screen Capped Hats.
But it's
The
styled on that though.
Yes, it's based on the Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the from the first scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Because the guy who makes them, you say, I want the idol hat. He's going to make that one.
Uh-huh.
If you want the Streets of Cairo, he'll make the Streets of Cairo hat. So any hat that you want, he can design the hat and make it look like the one from whatever movie, Temple of
Wow,
Doom, Last Crusade.
that's cool.
So
So you're wearing the hat. You're wearing a Raiders t-shirt,
yeah,
well,
from
a Raiders
Disney.
of the Lost Ark t-shirt, not the Raiders, the team. And in the background, you have an amazing collection that I can see, including what looks like cardboard cutouts that would have been either from a cinema or maybe from a video release. I imagine something along those lines.
The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull video release,
Yep.
or DVD release. I used to work for Hollywood Videos. That was a place here. That was like competition against Blockbuster.
Okay.
And when I quit it to go work for someplace else, a friend of mine who was still working in Hollywood called me and goes, "We got the standee. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Yes." If it's Indiana Jones, I will take it.
Well, people who listen to this podcast regularly would be sick of hearing my story, but you can see I've got this large Batman in the background, which is also a cardboard cutout from the Batman vs Superman DVD release.
Okay.
It says Team Batman at the bottom of it. You can't see that off screen. But I won't tell the story. I won't bore people with the story of that again. So, but yeah, lots of stuff that I can see in the background. You got your own, looks like dedicated collector's room as well. So you're very lucky. How have you gone over? I mean, 40 years, right? We're talking now 42 years since you originally fell in love with Indiana Jones, walked out, bought your first items, and now the collection has been growing year on year on year, obviously.
Yeah.
How have you gone? Like, have you moved a lot in 40 years? Like, how do you go transporting that, or have you been lucky enough to sort of stay put in a similar area and not have to?
A similar area. Because I live in Chicago, just south of Chicago, and so I collected all my stuff. Luckily, I got married when I was 19 years old. So I mean, I'm from 15 to I had 40
14.
years
I was going to say it was a different time back then, Mark.
Yeah, no. But within, I was thinking like 4 years. 14. Okay, no, but then I had my stuff, and my wife. God bless her. So I mean, she just she's like, I don't understand it, but I'm gonna let you have it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my collecting, and she she's like, okay, you have a room, fill it up, do whatever you want with it. So
as long as it stays in that room, right?
Right. And so then the first house we had was a smaller area. I had my collection plus the Star Wars collection too at the time. And then when we moved about 20 years ago, we moved into her old house, which she grew up in. And so I took the den, did my collection in there, and it started getting out of hand. It was getting too big for this room. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to give you the garage. And I said, you know what? That's going to be good. I like that. So I put up walls. I put up, all the stuff to keep the nice and dry and everything. Yeah. And then just started, organizing. But like I said, I had my Star Wars in here too. And that was just a lot. Yeah. And now that I've finally said, you know what? Star Wars isn't going to put my kids to college. Okay. Everybody's got Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
My Indiana Jones stuff, I'm still not going to put my kids to college with it, but it's they got some great stuff for the collectors. And so I've been able to just, bide my time trying to find certain things that I missed when I was younger, during the time when we had kids. We had two kids,
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, well, Star Wars was, prevalent then. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy this. And
Hmm.
I'd still be like, hunting down, where am I? What's this? eBay. All right, let's find out what's on there. And that's where, you find a lot of stuff. But when the Temple of Doom came out, that's when, I got the Temple of Doom hat from Stetson. My wife said, you know what, you want to buy a jacket? And I said, sure. And I said, okay. She goes, well, we'll get you a jacket. It wasn't quite the indie style. It was more of the bomber style with the little cuffs, that had the little, how do they call it? That the kind of knitting, the knitting.
Yeah.
So it was close enough, but that was about as close as I could get to the jacket at the time. And then Last Crusade came out. And that's my wife's favorite, but
Sean
but I
Connery.
started, yeah, and I know everybody's right now, they're like
Yes.
looking at
Yeah, you've
like,
got it. You've got the beard for listeners. Mark has grown himself a Sean Connery-esque beard, which I've even seen the photos on your Instagram where
yeah,
you've been cosplaying as because he's Doctor Jones as well, right? It's like
right.
yes, yes. So as the older Doctor Jones, yeah.
My son, we're planning on going to a Comic-Con, this in the end of March in
Oh yeah.
Chicago. He wants to go as Indiana Jones, and he's like, "Come on, Dad, you can go as Dad. You can go as Henry." And I'm like, "Well, I guess I'll have to do it, son, and hopefully, it won't be intolerable."
You do a much better Sean Connery than I could. I can tell you that much. That is one of the other questions that I had to ask you about because, as I
Uh-huh.
mentioned, seeing the photo of you dressed up as Sean Connery from The Last Crusade, but also I've seen you in many photos dressed up as Indy as well. It seems that you
Yes.
like to go out to the different Comic Cons and whatever different conventions dressed as Indiana Jones. How many years have you been doing that for?
Oh God, I have to say, we've been going. My son is, I think, the first time I took him to the Comic-Con, he was 2 years old, and he is going to be 27, so 25 years. And when he was first born, I have a picture someplace of me as at Halloween as Indiana Jones, one of my first cosplays. And he it was a little, what's his name? Buzz, not Woody. Woody. He was dressed as
Yeah.
Woody, and so I'm holding him, and my daughter was some, Peace Girl, which is probably going to be kind of like, in the '70s, like Indy's going to be in this next movie. But so that picture was like one of my earliest ones that I had the costume, that I had my Stetson,
Hmm.
some this indie type looking shirt that was really like real fine cotton, and then of course regular slacks, and then a whip, and
And a jacket. The
no,
jacket.
not the jacket, no, but it was a warm Halloween, so I didn't really need it. The streets of Cairo indie.
Fair enough. What's the difference? I mean, you talked about with the hats. Like, so I didn't realize there was a different hat for the different versions of Indy. I thought that he had the one hat that it followed him through the movies and he could never lose the hat, right? Like, that's
Right.
explain that to
Well,
me.
the with the hats, they had the streets of Cairo, was kind of like it sat just off the kilter of where he was at, and
Okay.
so it was just like, and it was just off just a little bit, and then you got the beginning of the film where it's right in the middle. So when you're looking at the hat in the different scenes, you'll see where it's off to the side and there's a little bit more bend here, and it comes down. It's kind of hard to really explain.
Yeah.
Uh, I know a lot of the fans, if they go on to some of the fan websites or the forums and stuff, they know about the hats and the different, like now when they did the Herbert Johnson, I think was the hat that they used for the Raiders, and then in Temple of Doom, it was a shorter brim, and the instead of having a tight pinch, it had a lot wider one, so it was like a
Okay.
little bit more open. And the same thing with Last Crusade.
Oh, I never realized there was so much difference. I mean, I guess it makes sense as well over the different movies that things would
Right.
change. I watched a video, I guess because I was watching a bit of Indiana Jones in the lead up to us recording as well. I was
Okay.
actually even watching Raiders last night. So one of the things I came up on my YouTube was a story of did like one of those. I watch a lot of the movies videos where they're like, "Did you know in this?" or "Did you notice this in this film?" And
Right.
and there was one that had about continuity in Raiders and things like the girl who has "Love You" written on her eyelids.
From where she was sitting originally. Yes.
Yeah, it's where she's sitting, she moves in between shots. That when he first picks up the idol in that early scene, there's moss to the side, and then when it goes back, like it cuts away, and then when it goes back, there's the moss has changed. In
Right.
like the next, there's all these little things that you don't notice, like
And then the big one that everyone always focuses on, and they usually say, "Well, I never really noticed it until they started talking about it," and it was, they're like Indy sitting there drinking his whiskey after Marion got blown up. In the background, you'll see a guy in a blue T-shirt walking down the street, and it's like, okay, this guy is from 1980. He's in a blue
uh,
T-shirt, doesn't fit in there, but I guess they said that they tried to clear the streets, and a lot of these tough thug guys would walk around and like, you're not telling me what to do, and so
uh,
they were just, like, well, just gotta keep on filming. So
yeah, yeah. I don't. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that now.
yeah,
Next time I watch it. And we're talking about the other movies as well. You mentioned, and in the different versions of Indie, we're going to be getting another version this
right.
year. Dial of Destiny. Are you super pumped for this movie? Looking forward to it? What's your feelings?
I like any Indiana Jones. I mean, even when they have, the trailer first came out, I was just like I was giddy as a schoolboy,
Yeah,
and
of course.
it was just like, yes, this is it. I don't care if he's older, if they, even if he, like, during the shooting, okay, we're gonna shoot you running, Indy or Harrison, and we're gonna have you run, even if it's 5 steps, we'll just keep, you know,
He's
keep
getting on a
shooting.
little in age these days.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, okay, well, and people are like, oh, he's getting too old. He's, you know what? It's the movie's magic,
Mhm.
because they can make it look like, and they will have Harrison de-aged for 19 was it 1937 40 in the 40s.
Yeah,
uh,
it looks like some of the there's a parade because I was watching the again as well. There's a parade which looks like it's a post-war parade, maybe, so it might be 1940s or so, or like you
right,
mentioned, 1930s, maybe after the First World War. No, because the most of the movies take place after the end of the First World War, right?
right,
Yeah,
right before World War II.
yeah.
Now, the parade scene, I believe, in this one is supposed to be during the 60s for
Oh, okay.
the first flight into space.
Oh, okay, okay.
So one of the, I don't know if it was Apollo or not. I my history is a little off, but it's supposed to take place of the man's first flight into space,
Oh, okay.
and this is where I think they had said that the villain was supposed to be working for the U.S. government on the NASA or something like that.
And that's
So we'll
Mads
have to,
Mikkelsen is going to be the villain,
yes,
I assume.
yes. So
Or
so
an
I'm like,
amazing actor as well.
yes, and I'm hoping it's just, the director James Mangold. He I've seen Logan. Just
Fantastic
watched.
movie.
I just watched Ford versus Ferrari,
Good movie as
and
well, yeah.
I like that one too. And I didn't. I just found out he did another movie, superhero movie. I think. What was it? Yeah,
Oh,
I have to go.
he actually did the Wolverine as well.
Yes, the Wolverine.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
yes,
he did two with Hugh Jackman.
yeah. And I
The
like the Wolverine.
Logan being the best one, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah,
But I also don't mind the Wolverine either. Yeah,
yeah.
I believe that's the one that was actually done in Japan,
Yes,
which is
yes.
actually one of my favorite. After Logan is my next favorite one of that
Yeah.
series.
So I mean,
Yeah.
so I like his work, And everyone's like, oh well, maybe he's going to kill off Indy. I'm like, no, 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 just enjoy the film for what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the people. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I loved it. I thought it was a fun, adventurous movie. That's all it was. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. And everyone's like, "Oh, aliens!" I'm like, I don't care. It's another Indiana Jones adventure. Did it have faults? Yes, but
Mhm.
I'm like, for this next film, I'm pumped up. I already got my 2 posters. I've got the American and the UK version.
I think you had a
And
T-shirt. I think I saw in one of your posts as well. Is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah. And so I'm like, I can't, it's just, even though it's just Indy looking down, I'm like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. Hey, I'm pumped for the Flash movie. I mean,
Oh yes,
with all of the different stuff that's been happening with, with oh, sorry, the actor that
Ezra.
plays Ezra. Yeah. So with all the trouble they've been in, even all that aside, the minute you saw Michael Keaton in that new trailer, I was in. I was
I
sold.
know.
Right.
I
Like,
was like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, my son's like, that's Michael Keaton. He's going to be in the film. I'm like, yes, it's going to be. He's going to be great. And he's like, yeah, but they cut him out of Supergirl or no, Batgirl.
that girl.
And
Well, they
I'm
cut the
like,
whole movie.
yeah. And I'm like, well, I said, well, at least we got him in this one. I said, now it's going to be 1989 all over again.
I was very scared that DC, with everything that happened with Ezra, was going to, yeah, was going to cut this movie. I was very scared about it, but they
Yeah.
invested so much money into it that it makes sense that they wouldn't at the same time.
Right.
Actually, talking about the different items in your collection as well, I've got a couple of items in my collection. One of them
Okay.
being from Crystal Skull.
Okay.
Many years ago, my partner's parents for Christmas gave me the Lego playset. So I'm a huge Lego fan as well. They gave me the Lego playset from the Crystal Skull movies that has the
Obelisk.
no, well, what's this one? This one actually has the Crystal Skull skeleton, like the alien skeletons and stuff.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
the big playset that has the I'm blanking on the word that I'm looking for, but essentially it's one of the larger playsets that came from that. But they're going to have a whole heap of new Lego playsets coming out this year as well in support
Yes,
of the
they got.
new movie.
They've got 4 that are coming out, which were before, that were released in 2008, but they're going
Yeah.
to add a little bit to stuff. They're going to add a couple of extra characters. The Indy and his father being chased by the airplane in the car.
Uh huh.
Now they're going to get rid of, I think, from what I thought I saw, was they're putting 2 planes instead of the car.
Do you
So,
collect the Lego sets?
oh yes, I have them all. I
Yeah.
also have the Toys R Us exclusive that came out, and a lot of people are like, "Aren't you going to build it?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to build that."
What was that one? What was that
It was
one?
it was an airplane
Oh,
that
okay.
Indy and Mutt flew in to go to Mexico.
Oh, cool,
Well,
cool.
yeah, yeah, it's in the corner there. I won't be able to dig it out right
That's
now.
okay. That's okay. I do have another item off camera here, which I'm going to show you. I mentioned this before we started recording that I had something to
Okay,
show you as well. So this is so I have 2 main items other than like my partner's box set DVD set because she also loves the indie films as well. I've got the Lego set, but I've also got this still in the box, which has never come out of the box, which is
yes,
the
I
Mr.
have that
Potato
also.
Head. And for people
Yeah.
listening to the podcast, when I press the Mr. Potato Head Indies hat, this happens. So yeah, it actually plays the theme music when you. And I was just talking to my partner before as well, and I'm like, I got it down off the shelf, and I've had this thing. I want to say for 12 years, maybe more now, and I've never changed the battery. It's never been taken out of the box, and the battery's still working after so many years. I'm thinking maybe I should take the battery out just in case they go
Yeah,
bad.
because I still have the 12-inch Hasbro line of Indy, and I have all the figures. I just picked up the Indy and German disguise without a box, but that I have that one. But I have 2 sealed because they had 2 different boxes. They had one with a curved front, and then the other one
Okay.
was just flat front. And it's Indy that talks. And the batteries still work on both of those.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, this is. I went through like many years ago. I went through a little bit of a Mr. Potato Head phase where I had a few different things in my collection. I also have the Star Wars ones. So
Okay.
they got Darth Tater, they call
Right.
him. And I've also got a Dark Knight version of Mr. Potato Head and an
Oh,
Iron
that's
Man
cool.
version as well. Yeah, yeah. So they're really cool. What would you say is the most for you if you had to if tomorrow you were to, I mean, it sounds like your son's probably out of college by this time now with his age, but if you did have to sell off the collection for some reason, what would be the one item that you would have to keep in your collection?
Um, it would probably have to be my 12-inch Kenner Indiana Jones figure.
And why would you pick that one?
Well, that was like one of the first toys I also picked up when they finally made the figures available. I'm like,
Okay.
because I went to the store, they had the 3 3/4 figures, and I said, you know what, I want that 12-inch figure. So I want it so I can play with it and do scenes with it and stuff like that. And then I still have the original one without the box. Then I bought another one about a year ago for $20. The
In the
lady
box?
didn't know not in the box, but it had everything. And then I bought on eBay, and a lot of people hate this kind of stuff, but I didn't care. It was a repro box
Ah, okay.
for $12.99, and I mean it looks pretty good. I'm like, you know what? I'll put the newer one in there and just leave it at that. I'm not going to sell it anyways.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of people don't like the repro, but it's kind of just fun to have. I mean, because
it's nice on the shelf, right?
I still have bits and pieces of the original box because I cut the Indy's face out and I had it next to the figure and I put it down by his foot. And, so I had all the little pieces of the original box that I cut up so as a kid, or teenager. And so I still have them in a little plastic baggie right now, put away.
Nice.
But yeah, that would be the one that I'd keep.
Cool, cool. Good answer. Good answer. And if you were to, God forbid, have to sell off or downgrade the collection, how many kind of items are we looking at? Because there's a lot of stuff I can see in the background in that room.
Well,
Have you any idea of the number?
I would say I probably have individual pieces. I would think different items. I would probably have close to 1,000, maybe 1,200.
Okay. Is
I
there a Guinness World Record for that collection?
There is a man. His name is Les David. He's in Canada.
Yeah.
He worked with Stephen Sansweet.
I don't know who that is. You have to.
Stephen Sansweet in America is the man who collects Star Wars. So
Oh, hang on. Is this the one that has the ranch
yes,
in
Ranch,
California? Yes, yes, yes. And
and,
he's the Guinness World Record holder for that.
yes,
Yes.
and Les
Yes.
worked with him, and then decided, you know what, I like Star Wars. He goes, but I like Indiana Jones. And Les right now is he has a webpage called throwmetheidol.com,
Oh, cool.
and he has a lot. I mean, he has boatloads of stuff that I wish I had. There was a you know how they did Star Wars? They had the glasses from Burger King and stuff like
Yep.
that in
Yes.
America.
Yes. Yes.
And people are still collecting those. And they came out with Raiders of the Lost Ark glassware. They only made X amount to show for the people to go to the shows and say, listen, this is what we have to offer when this movie comes out. Will you carry it? Burger King, McDonald's, and all these other places said no.
Oh.
So they are very rare.
Mm.
And I think from what Les had told me one time before, that they only made, I think, 6 or 7 sets. And there's only 3 glassware, one of Indy, one of Marion, and one of, I believe it was Indy. Oh, gosh.
I wonder why they
Indy,
said no. Any idea?
I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's curious. So it was at the time that the movie was coming out. You said.
yes. So they were trying to, promote it and have something for the, like they did with Star Wars. You know, you
Yeah.
had your
I
Burger
guess because
Chef
it was
and
a
all
newer
these
movie,
places.
right? It wasn't a proven thing. Like,
Right.
I'm sure if they went to them and said that for the next one, Temple of Doom,
Temple of
I'm,
Doom.
I'm
The
sure
Temple
I'm
of Doom.
sure Burger King or whoever would have been like, yeah, fooling them over themselves to do it, right?
Right. Because they did come out with Temple of Doom glasses. There was 4 of them,
Oh yes,
and
okay.
so
There you go.
I have like I have a bunch of them, and they had them from different. In Chicago, it was a place called Brown's Chicken. They had the glassware sets, and my mom bought them for me, and then she also got me. If you can see behind me, next to Indy running, you see Indy hanging.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I see that.
That's from the display from the Brown's Chicken in town.
Oh cool.
So I have that. And my mom's like, well, I couldn't get you anything, really expensive that, I could find for you for Indiana Jones. She goes, but I did get this for you. And I was like, I was happier than pig. And,
Yeah,
so I was like, oh, now I have this. And, and I keep this one. Oh, this one's like never touches the floor. It's
that's
always up
cool.
on something. And,
That's really
and
cool. I love that. I love and obviously it's got a personal connection for you as well. For,
yes,
having your mother buy that from you. That's really awesome. We have so much of nostalgia is rooted from our childhood, but can be connected to those different memories of people as well, which
right.
I think is really cool. That's one of the things I love about collecting as well. Mark, we're getting we're getting sort of towards the end of the show here in time. I don't want to take too much
Right.
time, but I do have, as the second episode of this season, I do have something that I do in some of my other episodes prior
Okay.
to this, where I have a bit of a pop quiz for my guests.
Okay.
How would you feel about doing a little 5-question pop quiz for us?
Sure.
Excellent, excellent, cool. All right, and I'm going to start this pop quiz off with some theme music. Got some theme music now. So, all right, excellent. 5 questions. I don't
All
think
right.
I don't want to say they're too difficult. Really, I
Okay.
don't think there's any massive deep dives. Maybe a little bit in there. I try and make them somewhat challenging, but also easy at the same time.
All righty.
I think they started off very easy when I started doing them, and then I tried
Okay.
to make them a little bit more challenging. But here we go. Here we go. So, question 1: in Raiders of the Lost Ark, what is the name of the snake in the plane in the early scene?
Wedgie. It's my pet Nate Wedgie.
Wedgie. I thought it was Reggie. Is it Reggie or Wedgie?
Well, you know what? I thought I read
I
it saying
misheard
Wedgie
that.
in the paperback book, but it could be Reggie. Yeah.
Cause I've got it written as Reggie. Maybe I misheard it. I'm gonna
No,
say that's look. I'll still
close
count that
enough,
as a
huh?
point. And I mean, and you'd know more than I would, more than I would. So I'll count that as a point. Question 2. We all know that obviously, he hates snakes, and
Right.
that's the first time we learn that he hates snakes. Question 2. This one's connected to a little bit to you. Indy studied archaeology at which university?
The University of Chicago.
Correct. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, I thought that was a good question, being that you're in Chicago as well. Yeah, nice one, nice one. The pop song Dr. Jones from 1997 was written and performed by which Danish group? This one you may not be as familiar with, I'm not sure. But
Oh,
they had a film clip where the group is actually in the jungles, and it borrows a lot from the themes of Indiana Jones. It actually pays homage to that.
hmm. I, the only, I'm an '80s video boy, and the only thing I can think of was Duran Duran. But that was close enough. But
No,
I
no, definitely not. I'll give you a little hint. They also had a song about another famous toy line,
okay.
which was called Barbie Girl.
Oh, okay. Aqua.
Yes, ding ding
Okay.
ding, correct. Yeah, so Aqua, I guess, Dr. Jones, I'm not going to sing actually. Well, I shouldn't do that to
I'll
people.
have to look this up then. Check it
Yeah,
out.
have a look at it. Yeah, 1997, Dr. Jones. The
Okay.
lyrics aren't really so much about Indiana Jones, although the chorus does say, Dr. Jones, calling Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones, wake up now." So it
Okay.
basically, if you remember, he's been like, "Wake up now! It's time to wake up."
Right.
Yes. So Question 4. This one is a little bit. This one might be a little bit tougher as well. So, Indiana Jones Adventure, the Disney Dark Ride, Indiana
Okay.
Jones Adventure, is in which Disney parks?
They're in
Two.
Disneyland in California,
Yes.
and I believe the other one's in Shanghai.
You're close. You're close.
Okay,
It's definitely
it's the
outside of
other.
America. It's in Disney Sea in Tokyo, Japan.
Okay, that's it's like okay, it's like to me, I'm like okay, Shanghai, Japan, and then there's
No, that's good. That's good. I'll give you a half point for that one. That's fine. But I'm lucky enough to say that I've ridden on both of those because I've been to both of those parks.
I haven't even been to the California one yet. I've
Oh,
every time I've gone down to Disney, it's always been to Florida,
oh
and
well,
I've seen the I've seen the
I'll give you another half a point if you can tell me what they have in Disney World.
Disney World is the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
Epic stunt spectacular.
Yes,
Correct. Yes.
right.
Yes. All right. There you go. You get the full point now. So you're under 4 points. You made it up. And also, just following up from that, they also have the Temple of Peril, which is at Disneyland Paris, which
Paris,
is
right,
a roller coaster ride.
right. My daughter went to Paris, and she rode the ride, and I told her, I said, you know what? That's nice that you rode the ride, and I'm
Did
jealous,
she get you
but you
something?
better get me some T-shirts from there.
Did she?
Yeah, she got me 2 T-shirts.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. I was going to say, like, she has to get you something from the ride, right?
Right,
I've actually, like I said, I've been on both of those rides, and one of the things that when I was researching and looking at all the different stuff within the parks,
right.
I knew that they had the ride, so I wanted to have that as a question. I found out that the Disney Sea one, which they brought out in 2001, is it's Temple of the Crystal Skull.
Yes,
I didn't
I've
realize it
seen that.
came out in 2001, so it was not. It's not even connected to that movie that came out 7 years later. It was
Right,
yeah, that was really
and
interesting. I found.
it's like okay, I've known about that ride, but I've never seen it. I've tried looking for it on YouTube just to see some scenes for it and everything, and I'm just like, okay, I maybe I'm not looking correctly, or maybe I'm, being too specific when I'm looking for the title. So it's like I still got to track down that one to see what it looks like.
Have a
So
look. They may these days. There's a lot more YouTube channels with that. I watch a lot of the theme park videos and
okay,
especially Disneyland ones. Before we were going there, my partner and I would look. We're actually going back to Japan later this year.
oh, okay,
I feel very fortunate that I'll probably be riding it again. So yeah. So you can go to a lot of Disney places and actually enjoy either a ride or a show for
yeah,
Indy, which is really cool. All right, last question. So you're at 4 points, right? You made up that half point, so that's good. All right, question 5. This one may stump you. I don't know. But what Steven Spielberg's cinematic hit came out the year after Raiders of the Lost Ark? So in 1982. This is a little bit of a deep diver.
hmm.
Steven
Now
Spielberg, obviously being the
did
director.
he directed it? Okay,
Yeah. So what big hit did he have the year after that? This is one that a lot of '80s people will be familiar with.
oh, let's see, that's 82. Ugh. The only thing that keeps coming to mind is Goonies, and I don't think that's it because he didn't direct it.
No,
Uh,
definitely not. I'll give you a hint. It features the child actor Drew Barrymore.
oh, E.T.
Yes, there you go. Ding ding. 5 point. I'll give you half point for that one.
That's fine.
I
I'll
had to
take
give,
that.
because I had to give you hints for that and the Dr. Jones one. So 4.5 points out of 5. That's pretty good. That's still I think in most places that would be an A grade. So
Yeah,
I think I think
maybe
you
an A
know the greatest
minus.
stuff. Really cool, really cool. And it's funny. Like Steven Spielberg, such a prolific director, right? And person in Hollywood. He's done so much. Um, I was actually looking at all of the different stuff that he's come out with through the 80s and the 90s, and he had I think it was something like 7 massive hits
Yeah,
just in the 80s, which also included The Color Purple,
right.
and what was the other one? I'm trying to remember now. Oh, Empire of the Sun was
Yes,
another huge.
that one is one that it. I mean, the storytelling on that is so it's the scenery and just the full on effect of the movie is
Hmm.
just it's amazing. It's amazing,
Yes.
and it was just it's one of those ones that people saw and it got accolades and stuff, but it just wasn't seen by a lot of people because it wasn't really kind of like the indie films or Goonies or any of the films that he was associated with.
Yeah.
It was different, and but when if people out there do get a chance to look at just enjoy it. You'll
Yeah.
enjoy it.
I actually have a personal story. We're talking about you spoke about your mother before. I have a story about my mother, and we actually rented that as a video when I was a child. I didn't see it in the cinemas, but we sat down and we essentially almost went through a full box of tissues, just sitting
Yeah,
there, just bawling our eyes out because it's such an emotional movie. It really does hit, and it's still to this day, even just thinking about it, actually
right.
brings up those emotions just because how much it meant. And then obviously the child actor from that one, Christian Bale, went
Yes.
on to become Batman,
Well,
tying it
first
full circle
he
back.
did a musical, Newsies.
He did Newsies. That's correct. He did the Newsies as well. That's another Disney property, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, they own just about everything these days.
yeah.
That's all right. Look, Mark, thank you. I've had a really fun time chatting indie with you.
Me too.
Before I let you go, I always get people to plug their socials. Where can they find you?
Well, I on Facebook and Instagram, both under Mark Martino. Or I think Instagram is backwards, Martino Mark. And then I also have a YouTube channel. It's Indie Clone 25. I talk about Indiana Jones. I talk about the books, the comics, my collection, and I have new stuff going up every couple of weeks. So,
Excellent,
and then
excellent. I'll put links to that in the description as well, so that people
already,
can go and follow you and check you out in those
okay.
places. So once again, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I've had a great time chatting to you, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. Thanks.
If you liked the episode, please consider following or subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also join me on Instagram at Collecting Heroes, where you can see photos of the collections of the people that I'm talking to, as well as some of my own.